Welcome to Storytimer at Large. Catherine Mueller Thompson. She was born Catherine Johanna Mueller in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania on the 9th of June in 1915. Her brother was named after her father. Her sister was named after her mother. But Catherine was called Kitty. She was self-assured, smart and pretty, and a go-getter. She knew what she wanted out of life. She also knew what she didn't want out of life. She seems like she became her own person out there. This photo, I want to say a quick thing about this photo. You have to sort of edit the photo with your brain. So it's reprinted from a newspaper, and the original print in the newspaper was not great. But I want you to imagine Zsa Zsa Gabor right around the time of Green Acres, that kind of situation. So she's got beautiful white teeth, smile there. In the photos, sometimes her nose can look really long, but it's not. It's just the way the shadows are. She's got on sparkly, dangly earrings. She has on an evening gown that has one shoulder bared and the other one covered, and then a sparkly necklace, and it looks like even a bracelet down there on the arm that's in the lower left corner of the photo. But she seems like the kind of gal who loved glamour and loved to dress up, and lived in a small town, but she lived in a big way. So I really like Kitty. When she was 30, she married 35-year-old Dominic Ventura Bevilacqua in 1945 in Pennsylvania. The two later parted ways. Dominic later married another lady later on and passed away decades later in Georgia. On June 1st, 1949, she married 85-year-old William Henry Crutchley. She would have been 35 or thereabouts then, and she's married this 85-year-old man, William Henry Crutchley. The two were actually married almost 10 years. He passed away in January of 1958, making Catherine a widow at 43 years old. So they, a lot of times back in the old days, it wasn't unusual for someone to marry an older man. He would have needed someone to cook and clean and take care of things and do the laundry and all those sorts of things. And she would have needed financial security. Women lived on the verge of poverty all the time because they aren't paid very much at all. Today it's getting a little better, but in Catherine's day, it was times were precarious for a woman. So in January of 1958, of course, he had passed away, and Catherine was now a widow at 43 years old. On the 26th of June in 1958, so about 6 months later, she was wed to 38-year-old John Vanaski. They did not remain married for whatever reason. He later passed away in 1990. One of the reasons I'm mentioning what happened to each husband is when I first started researching her, I was like, is she a black widow? Where are all these husbands going? And so I researched what happened to each one of them, because I was like, no. They're fine. Only one passed away there, but he was very old. So after John Vanaski, on July 7th, 1959, she was wed to 31-year-old Lloyd Eugene Thompson in Hot Springs, Virginia. On this marriage license, she states that she had been married and divorced once. That's a bit of a fib. Just a little fib there. I found Lloyd Eugene Thompson on Find a Grave. He passed away in Ohio in 1908. I found, this is one Lloyd Eugene Thompson. He passed away in 1908 at the age of 2, so it's not that one. But there was another Lloyd Eugene Thompson, born in 1927. And apparently this marriage with Lloyd Eugene Thompson did not last either. I wonder if Catherine followed the ethos that Elizabeth Taylor followed. Elizabeth Taylor allegedly wouldn't sleep with a man unless they were married. And that was one of the reasons why she got married so many times. In the only photo of Catherine that I found, like I described it earlier, she's very pretty. She's quite glamorous. She's in a light-colored off-the-shoulder evening gown. I think she really kept the beauty parlor and the dress shops busy in her little town of Warren, Ohio. She operated a place called Kitty's Inn in Warren, Ohio, until about 1963. Kitty's Inn was a little bar. One newspaper described it as a slum bar. Ooh, it sounds like a great place to go then. The article derided the oriental style of lettering on the windows. I'm wondering if Kitty's Inn was a tiki-style bar. I really hope it was. I'd love to find a photo of her bar. I looked quite a lot in Warren, Ohio's history photos that I could find online, but I didn't find. I found a lot of other bars, but I didn't find Kitty's Inn. I have to say, I really admire Catherine. She was not content to just get a factory job or marry a coal miner or wait tables. She opened up her own place. She made it exotic and fun. She brightened up Warren, Ohio in her little way. She filled out a marriage license application with 32-year-old Grover Lucky Allgood on February 24th, 1965. He was an African-American man and was a bit younger than she was. She may or may not have told her mother about this marriage. It's hard to tell because her mother didn't seem to know that she had married again. Later on when you hear about what the next things that took place. On October 2nd, 1965, Catherine was murdered. She had been stabbed to death in her own home. Her mother had been very worried about not being able to get in touch with her. Apparently, they kept in regular contact. She came to Warren. She used a spare key to enter the home. Her mother then found her daughter and reported the death to police. Catherine was found nude and in her bed. It was reported that she lived alone at 2752 Milton Street Southeast. Police took a knife and the blood-soaked bed sheets in as evidence, according to one article. The thing about stabbing is that it's easy to cut yourself when the knife gets slippery. Did Catherine's killer leave DNA behind? Was she sexually assaulted also? What evidence is still preserved in her case? Could the killer have cut himself as well and left some of his blood there? Or was a rape kit collected? Is DNA out there that could tell us who murdered Catherine Thompson? Newspaper articles at the time of her death mentioned that Mr. Grover Lucky Allgood was in jail at the time of her murder. They also mentioned that he was an African American. Maybe the newspaper article that I mentioned above called her place a slum bar because she served African Americans and enjoyed their company. Her bar actually sounds like it was a great place. It sounds very warm and very welcoming and a wonderful neighborhood bar. Was she killed because she had married an African American man? Was she killed by some other romantic partner? Or was she killed by a stranger? One article states that her throat was slashed several times, nearly decapitating her. She also had stab wounds to her chest. This seems like overkill and usually indicates someone who knew the victim personally. But it's important to know that Catherine Thompson wasn't the only woman viciously murdered in Warren in 1965. Another victim, Patsy Baugh, 21, was murdered earlier in August of 1965. Catherine and Patsy lived only about 8 blocks apart. And this is a small town, so these are shorter blocks. If you're thinking large city blocks like in New York or somewhere, think smaller. Patsy Baugh was a mother of 3. Her mother reported her missing when she could not find Patsy, but her mother did find blood on Patsy's sofa. 16 hours later, Patsy was found in her nightgown and robe, strangled and stabbed 35 times in the woods near her home. Her night clothes were pushed up around her neck, suggesting a sexual assault. One article mentions a 43-year-old boyfriend was to be questioned, but his name is never mentioned in any of the articles. Were Catherine and Patsy murdered by the same man? On the 3rd of February in 1968, oddly enough, Catherine Thompson's former husband, Lloyd Eugene Thompson, was murdered also. I don't think it's connected. He was murdered by means of strangling in Arlington, Virginia. He was strangled with his own necktie. His death certificate mentions a scuffle, but I didn't find any newspaper articles about the fight or the scuffle that might have happened there. So I don't think his murder is related to Catherine's, but you never know. Grover Lucky Allgood, who was Catherine's last husband, he passed away on July 14th, 1971 in Warren, Ohio. And tragically, he was also murdered. Mr. Allgood was found lying on the road by patrolling police officers. He had been shot in the leg and suffered multiple cuts to his body that were described as mutilation. The word mutilation makes me wonder about the nature of the cuts. What parts of his body were cut? Since he is a black man, I'm wondering if injuries were made to his genitals or something like that. A lot of times when white people would attack a black man, they would do very awful mutilations to these men. A trail of blood led from the body of Mr. Lucky Allgood to the home of a 66-year-old man named Huey Seymour. One article stated that it appeared that Grover Allgood was carried from that house to the spot where his body was found. Mr. Seymour told police that Grover Allgood was trying to burglarize his home, and that was why he shot him. But that doesn't explain the cuts, and it doesn't explain why Mr. Huey Seymour did not simply call the police at the time of the incident. Mr. Seymour was put on trial for the murder of Grover Allgood. Newspaper articles mention opening arguments beginning. I can find no articles that talk about the outcome of the trial. Not even one, which raises suspicions. I imagine, then, that Mr. Huey Seymour was acquitted. It's not difficult to imagine that newspapers didn't want to report that a black man whose blood trail led straight to his alleged murderer got no justice. I don't think that Grover Allgood saw any sort of justice in this case. People in power and newspaper reporters, newspaper editors were always worried about rioting breaking out. And so I think that they made this story evaporate pretty quickly and quietly. I could not find the final resting place of Grover Lucky Allgood. Not sure exactly where he's buried, but I would imagine probably there, somewhere in Warren, Ohio, and probably, maybe possibly in a pauper's grave or a public grave for people who didn't have family there to see to their burial. Did Huey Seymour have anything to do with the murders of Patsy Baugh or Catherine Thompson? If he was indeed the man who attacked Grover Lucky Allgood, then he was very quick to pull a knife, even when he had a gun handy. Who murdered Lloyd Eugene Thompson in Arlington, Virginia? Huey Seymour moved to Middletown, Ohio, where he passed away in 1981. Sometimes we have information that we don't know that we have. Maybe you heard a rumor at some point in your family about something terrible that someone did. Maybe you have a tiny piece of information that can help solve a murder. Maybe you know more about Warren, Ohio and the things that happened there back in the 60s. If you have any information about the murders of Catherine Thompson or Patsy Baugh or Grover Lucky Allgood, please submit a tip at the link that I'm going to paste in the comments section. It takes you to the Ohio Attorney General cold case page, and it takes you straight to Catherine Thompson's case, and you can submit a tip there. But this is a cold case, and it's long cold, but you never know. The way technology has gone, you never know. There's always hope that a cold case can be solved. Thank you for listening, and I don't know if you noticed, but the background is different. I'm on the road, so I'll be posting videos from different locations as I travel on this little summer break to visit some family. And thank you for subscribing. We're up to 115 subscribers, so we've got a nice little community forming here. And I really think that all of us working together, I think that we can solve some murders. Thanks for listening. Rest in peace, Catherine Mueller, Kitty Thompson. And next time we have something to drink, a grown-up beverage or a Coke or a Sprite or something, maybe we'll raise a glass to Kitty and think about Kitty's Inn and how great it would have been to stop by there. I bet she told some great jokes, don't you? Have a good night. Thanks for listening.